Our topic today is getting the most out of your Snap-on scan tool, because I know there's tons of features and functions in these tools, and I talk to people all the time. It's like I feel like I don't even use half of the functions that are in there, and I'm definitely not probably even going to be able to scratch the surface. But I will pick some of the top things that get asked and mentioned and all that, and then some exclusive stuff that we have that nobody else in the industry has as well. We'll talk about those. So first things first, to get the most out of your scan tool nowadays, especially nowadays, is keeping it up to date, right? So if it's not up to date, you will lose access to a multitude of things, such as Fast Track Intelligent Diagnostics, access to Snap-on cloud uploads, any SureTrack information, any access to secure vehicle gateways, right? Because that's a requirement that you have to be on current software in order to communicate with these lockdown gateway cars. And most of the tools we have now, in the last, I think since the probably Solus Plus, a little before that, after the D8s, right? So when we came out with the Apollo D9, Triton D10, Solus Plus, all of those tools can now update over the air, right? It used to have to be either plug it in the ShopStream Connect or your franchisee would come and they would update it for you. They can still do that, by the way. Franchisee can still update it, but to save everybody time, you can download it to the tool. So what does it look like when I'm doing that? So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure the tool is on, connected to power, and you need to make sure that your Wi-Fi signal's on, right? So you need to make sure your Wi-Fi is fully connected. And notice down here it says 25.4, which is that's the latest update, right? Means 2025 fourth quarter. And then, as I said, you need to make sure the Wi-Fi is on. Once the Wi-Fi is connected, if there is an update available for the tool, it will show a download arrow, and download arrow indicates that it's downloading. So what you want to do is, if that shows up, don't turn off the tool, just leave it running, let it download. I usually just say, go do it overnight, right? Just let it download overnight, and you should be good to go by the time it rolls around in the morning. So once it's done, this was a very short update I did here a couple weeks ago. It was just a quick performance update. And once it is downloaded, you're going to see a check mark at the top, and you're going to see a little dot next to the gears down here on the bottom. And then you can go in to the gears, and you can go to software updates, and then you'll see that there's a performance update in this case, 15 megs, already downloaded. So hit install. Going to have to agree to the terms, hit agree, and we'll install the update. That one doesn't take very long. And then we have to restart the scanner for the update to be applied. And then you'll see down here, 25.4b is now available. So we started this, last year, I think it was, 24.4, where we started putting letters after them. So it'd be easier to tell just at a glance on the tool to make sure you're just up to the right, whatever the latest and greatest is, right? So that is software updates on the Zeus. It generally just updates, and it has its own little updater on the bottom right-hand corner. But these are the ones that it hasn't been around for that long. So we want to make sure everybody's aware that there's a few steps that do have to be taken in order for the update to install properly, download and install properly. So that is updates. Next thing is a setup function. And I get asked this a lot, it seems, especially lately, because we were asking for, what do you want to learn about on the tool? Or what do you want to see coming into the tool? And a lot of people say, I want dark mode, I want dark mode, I want dark mode. Well, on everything but the Zeus, because the software is different, and the operating system is different. On all the tools that are not a Zeus, you have dark mode available on the tool. As a matter of fact, the Triton D10 used to ship with dark mode on by default. But how do I do this on the tool? So I'm going to plug in, and I will show you how we do this on the tool. So let me see, do this, right? Do this. And then we need to get this on the screen. There we go. So this is my Triton I got here. All right. So if we go down to the right-hand side where it says tools, and then we will go to settings down here. Oops, that was software updates. Software's already up to date. Go to settings, and then we will go to system settings, and then we will go to display. And then you'll see we have color theme of a day theme. So this is the light theme. So if I click on color theme, go to night theme, that will change it over to dark mode. Now, there's a couple other things down here as well. So high contrast toolbar that there's a couple different choices. So default is this up on top, and then light high contrast is this. So it's like a lighter with toolbar up there with high contrast. And then we have a dark high contrast as well, which would be a bit darker up there. And then we can go back to default, which is the kind of that brushed stainless steel look, right? So you get a couple choices there. Font type, again, normal or bold. And this also works in the day mode as well, just so you know, it's not just dark mode. But you can change your font type, right? So bold or not. I prefer normal, but font size, normal or large. So it gets a little bit larger. It's not a ton larger, but it is a bit larger. So if I put in bold font large, that's about as big as it gets, right? And then the normal font. And then you can set your backlight time to always being on, or it'll dim after 15, 30, 45, or 60 seconds, depending on what you want to do. And then, of course, you can set your brightness level from here. So that's your screen settings, and that is dark mode. If I want to change it back, I'll just go back to color theme, set it to day theme, and I'm good to go, right? So this, your Solaces, your Tritons, your Apollos, an MT2600 that just came out too. All of those have that dark mode available. Like I said, I've submitted a request for it on the Zeus, but we don't have it as of yet because, like I said, the software is different. So it behaves differently, and just that setting never been in there. So don't know how long it will take to get put in there, if it's going to get put in there, but have at least run it up the poll, and we'll see what happens, right? So, but like I said, on the new Triton, the Apollos, Solaces, MT2600s, all of those have that dark mode in there. Right? So get out of this, back over to here. Next thing we're going to talk about is it's a blanket under which we're gonna talk about this stuff. So we have a blanket term that we use called data services, right? So that is anything that you are accessing basically on our servers or has to go through our servers or anything like that. So that includes SureTrack, Fast Track, Intelligent Diagnostics, Snap-on Cloud Services, and like I said, your software needs to be up to date and current in order to access that. Plus, of course, you need Wi-Fi in order to access it as well. So one of the things is pre-scans and post-scans, right? So this is actually kind of where everything started way back 2016, I think it might have been, where manufacturers started saying, hey, you need to do pre and post scans for any collision work because we want to see what's going on with the car, and we want to make sure the car has a clean bill of health, on the way out. So pre and post scans upload to Altus Drive, the Snap-on Cloud, on your account, and they can be accessed through your phone, your tablet, laptop, desktop, PC, Mac, Linux, doesn't matter, as long as it has a web browser. You can go out on the web and then you can access it there, right? And that all falls under your Snap-on profile. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this when I go live here in a minute, but I would strongly advise you, if you have a Snap-on scan tool, to make sure you set up an individual account there, right? So we have this box there for creating an individual account. You'll put in all your particulars, name, address, phone number, all that stuff. And then you will have an account with that. Now, if you do have, say, Shopkey, Mitchell, some other product that we have, you already have a shop account. But in order to use a lot of the features and functions like Security Link, you will need an individual account as well. So if you don't have that set up and you do have an account, otherwise, you would need to set up that individual account as well, just so you know. But let's talk SureTrack first before we get that far. So, oops, I think I skipped something. No, I didn't. Okay. Yeah, so SureTrack has tens of millions of real fix tips in there, right? So you may have seen this on the scan tool already. This is going to be these are real world tips based on real world cases that are out there, right? And these are written by real world technicians who go out and they find these cars. And oftentimes it's not just that one-off, right? Sometimes it's that one-off, which can help if you have this really weird off-the-wall problem. Or it's just pattern failure type of things, right? And it's going to be laid out in complaint, cause correction, what was done to solve this problem. Related real fixes and fix-its are going to be in there as well, right? So it's going to be a ranked list. So in this case, we have 72 people who have fixed it in the past. and then going to rank down from there. And then we also have an example of a really good real fix here. So this is a UO403 code. Gotta love those U codes and communication codes. Invalid data received from transfer case. So this is kind of highlighted here. Before condemning the vehicle's transfer case module, it's advised to check the ground strap for the anti-lock brake system. It's been reported in the or anti-lock brake module. It's been reported in the field that a population of Grand Cherokees left the factory with the ground strap not fully tightened. There have been several cases where tightening the ground connection resolves the problem. So it's not just a one-off thing, but the code is directing you towards the transfer case module, when in fact it's actually the ground strap on the ABS module. Now, not sure if you probably would get codes in the ABS module as well, but they might just be communication codes, right? So double check the ground strap. Fairly simple to find. It's on the fender. Easy enough to get to. So that's just one of many hundreds of thousands of examples of this. And then probably the thing you've seen the most out there in the real world on your scan tool and on the web is going to be the data from billions of shop repair events that we have. It's over 400 billion repair events, and that brings us down into our top repairs based on code and mileage. Now, there's a lot of chatter out there in the industry so far. Talked to a few people out there. A lot of people wanting to know about AI and how can I use AI in the shop. Well, we've had this since 9 years now. And so we've been working on it longer than that. So I like to say, we've been working on AI, or we've been doing AI since before it was cool. And this is a form of AI. It's a machine learning model. And what it does is it goes through the billions of repair records that we have. And 400 billion data points for the PID data. And there's over 8 billion repair records out there, right? Billions and billions of repair records. So what it does is it gives us this graph based on pattern failures over mileage, over 200,000 miles. In this case, for this code, the number one repair was replace the mass airflow sensor. There was clean mass airflow sensor, and you can see how many instances over that 200,000 miles. Also, the real fixes I just talked about come from that data as well. So we can see there, number 166, and the most common was 125,000 miles. Now, also with an individual account, you have access to what we call like a light version of SureTrack. If you log into ShopKey Pro and use your individual account username and password, it will link you here and you get a limited use of one search. So, for example, it gives you access to these top 10 lists, right? And the top 10 lists are pretty powerful. This is on a Chevy Tahoe. And you could use this to figure out, is there a common failure on these vehicles? So if you look at AC and up, AC refrigerant, third most common replaced component. That's a little odd. AC condenser, number 6 on this 2016 Tahoe. Pads and rotors, that's going to be pretty common. Batteries, but not AC condenser. Then we have condenser and condenser again down here spelled a different way. So in this case, I'm going to see, hey, there's probably a problem with the AC on this, and you might approach the customer if they haven't had any AC work done. Hey, how's your AC working? Would you like us to take a look at it? Because there is a bulletin on the condenser on these. It can crack. So good to know. Another nice thing in there is causes and fixes. So the graph that we looked at earlier, the repair graph, that works on one code at a time. This causes and fixes can work with multiple codes at a time or symptoms. We call it ProView. And what it is, we see right here, if it's got to one code, there's numerous possibilities. But the more information we can throw at it, so if it has a CAT code and a lean code, then you're going to lean more to the oxygen sensor. And it's going to say how many times it actually repaired it, verified repairs on that. So that is a great use of the AI model, I would say. And then also we have the community. Right, so the SureTrack community, which you would also have access to through the ShopKey Pro and log in with your user account. In this case, they looked at it as intermittent no start, replace the battery cables. The complaint is the customer states the truck will not start intermittently, and then they'll have you put in what diagnostic steps you've already done, and then the community will come back to you. And the best answer from the community member, in this case, you may want to perform a voltage drop on both battery cables. Sometimes internal corrosion cannot be seen, but when tested, found resistance to be high. And in this case, they replaced the battery cables, cleaned the terminals, and now it starts consistently, right? And by the way, that was a no-code type situation, right? So let's go live on the on the web here. Right, user. Okay, and we are going to go to altusdrive.com, which is the easiest way to get in there. And we'll see how well it loads time. All right, so when you go to altusdrive.com, that's the easiest, is where you're going to access your files as well. But if you don't have an account, you can create an individual account. You can manage your account from here, so if your personal account, or you can just log straight into Altus. So I'm going to log right into Altus first. That's up on the top corner. Looks like I have my stuff already saved there. So there is a bunch of screenshots, right? So all the screenshots on the tools that I have linked here will come in here. And then maybe eventually, there we go. There's a vehicle system report, right? So that is a pre-scan or a post-scan or what have you. It's going to be labeled here in a second when Adobe decides to open. All right, so it's on a Volkswagen Taos, and it's got a problem in the telematics communication module. So there you go. All right, let me back up. Now, I also could come down here. This is your files. You can have shop files that are saved, favorite files, and my network. And then up here on the top right, there's some new navigation for this came in the last couple of months. Up here on the top right, you might not be able to see it depending on where my head is on the screen, but there is a link that will open up with any Snap-on account you might have. So a link to Altus Drive, ShopKey Pro, Pro Demand, Truck Series, Sun Collision, any notifications that are there, security link, device management, support, tech profile, and your shop profile. So if you wanted to go straight to your tech profile, for example, and go in there, and we can log in and bring the username across. And then it's going to bring my profile. So there's my profile, right? And any notifications, shop information, though, that's important. Put your shop information in there. That's going to print out on the top of anything you print out of here. Device management, this is where you would add your device in here. So if you go on the tool, go to get connected, it's going to give you a way to link this. So we can see, just kind of where they were. And you can edit that. You can remove it. But they need to be attached to your profile in order for security link to work and also to get your uploads to work, right? So it needs to be linked to your profile. And then at the bottom here, we have security link. So that is going to be, first off, it's going to give you help videos on how to do this. Next, you can go in and edit. You can delete them. And then here, how it says FCA, Mercedes, and Nissan are all managed by AutoAuth. And then Volkswagen is managed by Snap-on Total Shop Solutions, which would be Snap-on. So we manage the tokens, in this case, on Volkswagen. They're included in the cost of your software. So that's kind of nice. And then if you're over in Europe, we also have FCA International. So that's over out of North America. And you deal directly with, actually, we deal with it for you because apparently it's quite the pain to get it set up through Stellantis over there. So we manage that for you. And then also Renault, same deal, managed over there. So there's my different accounts. And also, if you wanted to click on it, it brings you to your AutoAuth account, and then you can just log in from there. Right. So that's your profile manager. It's very important to have all this information in there. Make sure you create your account and then go through, make sure all your scan tools are in there under your device management. And then also under security link, make sure all your security link stuff is there. If you have any issues with any of the stuff, you can always call customer care too. 1-800-424-7226 in North America. Overseas, it's a little different, but you can still get support over there. Next one's going to be service resets and relearns. So this is available on any Zeus, Veris Edge, Apollo, or Triton product. So anything with intelligent diagnostics or Veris Edge. So this is a quick menu called service resets and relearns right there. So it'll pop up. It'll tell you how many service resets and relearns are available on the vehicle, and is broken down by job. So it's not necessarily going to be just one reset relearn. Could be multiple resets available for that particular component or job. It's also going to give you the bidirectional controls and anything else there that may be available. So in this case, this is under engine. And let's say we wanted to replace or relearn the oxygen sensor on this Tahoe, right? So oxygen sensor, because you do need to relearn the oxygen sensor. after you replace it on most GM vehicles 06 and newer. Has a resistance compensating heater circuit that changes the amount of pulse widths. Pulse width modulated circuit changes the length of the pulse width depending on how old that heater is. So you would go in there under heater learn, and it's just a simple checkbox on the top. You go there. But you can also see that there are the functional tests of bidirectional controls, right? So bank 1, sensor 2, bank 1, sensor 1, turn the heater on and off, test and see if it works. So it's bidirectional controls, TSBs, top repairs, and auctions, and the actual any relearns applicable down there as well. So that's a quick overview of that. Let's go quick into my Zeus here, and we'll do that. All right, so I want to load up my Tahoe. And also on the Tahoe, did you know that when you replace the brake pedal position sensor, it needs to be reset in both modules, in two modules. It needs to be set in the engine module, it needs to be set in the body control module. So if I wanted to do it without using service resets and relearns, first off, I need to know that it needs to be relearned in both modules. And then I would go into engine. In this case, let's go into engine. And then I'll go into, I think it's a functional test. And then let's see, is it in module setup? No. Is it in output controls? I believe that's where it is. Yes, BPP sensor learn. So once again, you need to know where it's located. And then it's going to say select learn on the next procedure. Hit continue. We hit learn, and it's done. Very simple, but I got to find it. And then I got to go back to find the body control module under body controls. Functional tests. Is a special function? No. It's an output control. And then in this case, we have the brake pedal position sensor learn here. Same type of deal. Place parking brake. Continue. Hit learn. Done. Right. Now, if I didn't know I needed to do that, I might only go in one module. I might be looking in the analog brake module as well to see if it's in there. And it is not. Oh, actually, the brake pressure sensor. No, it's brake pressure sensor calibration. That is not for the pedal. Yeah, so the pedal is not in there. So you might think, oh, I don't need to do it. But you just look in the ABS module thinking it would be with the ABS module, but it's not. It works with the ECM and the BCM. So if I go into service resets and relearns, and then I come down to brakes, and I go to replace or relearn brake pedal position sensor right there, and go to functional resets, and you're going to see there's the BPP. That's the one on the engine. Pop in there, hit continue, hit check, done. And then I pop over to brake pedal position sensor, click, done. Now I'm done. Right. So that's a beautiful thing where it's mapped to multiple modules. So you can just pull all that information in, and you can do any bidirectional controls that you might need, plus any resets, relearns, calibrations, that sort of thing with it as well. So that's a pretty powerful little function right there, if I do say so myself. All right. Let's go back. Next thing we'll talk about is fast track intelligent diagnostics. Now, this has been around for, like I said, almost 10 years now. I've been working on it a lot longer, but it's only been available to the public for a little while. Well, actually, almost 9 years. That's a fair amount of time, I think. But I don't know if everybody realizes the power that is available in there. This is basically our AI engine, right? Built into a feature that you can use in the tool. So that would be on your, by the way, on your Zeus, Triton, and Apollo tools, right? So this takes that SureTrack information and it builds upon it, right? So it's called our fast track troubleshooting workflow, which links problems to solutions, enabling a tech to complete the repair quickly and confidently. Begins with retrieving a code, then lays out the most productive workflow for that code, right? It's all about workflow. So we're going to have codes with full description on top. You can also have multiple codes, and you can switch between the codes up there. Top repairs graph, which we saw already, SureTrack information. Then we get down to filtered TSBs. So there could be hundreds of TSBs on a vehicle. Filters it down to just the ones you need. So in this example, we had a BMW that had a code in it. It was a misfire code, and it had 654 TSBs total. And then you were able to filter it down to just the one TSB that is relative to the problem right there. So that was pretty helpful. Next one is going to be smart code-based data. So out of the hundreds or thousands of data PIDs on a vehicle, which ones pertain to this problem? If I have a misfire, do I care what the left door switch is doing? Probably not. So it's going to filter it down and it's going to give us just what we need to diagnose that particular problem. Gets rid of the noise, right? So in this case, we had a Volkswagen. It was a Golf, and it had a code in there, and there were 400 on it. We went on tool. Total PIDs count on that vehicle, 404 PIDs in the engine. This filtered it down to just the 3 that were required for that one problem. Next one's functional test. Does the same thing, right? Takes it, filters it down. So on this Camry we were working on one day, had 482 functional tests available on the vehicle. This filtered it down to just the 6 that were necessary for it, got rid of the rest, right? And that includes bidirectional controls, resets, relearns, all that good stuff. Same thing with the guided component test. Out of the 8 million guided component tests we have, which ones are necessary for this code? Based on the 395 component tests on this Silverado, what did we need for this code? Filters it down to 10 for that code, right? So that is a huge, I don't have to search through all the different modules and procedures. And then on the bottom, we have the filtered SureTrack content that we talked about earlier, right? So the real fixes, the related real fixes, and the troubleshooter information that's available there. All filtered down, all based on the code. And notice how, if you were to read this from top to bottom like a book, you're going to go in, you're going to start with a code, and then you might get some real world information. Then you're going to go to TSBs, right? That's the first thing you should always do. Then depending on what the process is, you might go to data next, and then functional resets, and then guided component tests. And then maybe down here, you might want to get some additional information as well. Information is what fixes cars nowadays. There's a lot of information out there, and you need to be able to filter through it, right? So this helps filter through that and give you a repeatable workflow that you can follow. It's the same every time. It just will have different information behind those different cards, right? So let's go on the tool again and walk through that. So it all starts with a code. So I'll do a code scan, and we'll see what we get. So it looks like we get an evap or a misfire and an evap problem. So all I got to do is click on the code, hit diagnose, and it's going to bring me in here. Now remember how I said you can switch from code to code? Little arrow there, switches back and forth. A lot of people don't realize that that's there. That's just that one little button right there. If I got 20 codes on the car, I can flip back and forth between them. I don't have to go back to the report. I don't have to write them down or anything like that. I can just switch. Now in this case, we talk TSBs, right? So go into TSBs. In this example, misfire may be due to loose spark plug wires. See what it applies to. In this case, there's even a nice picture for that. And if one of those clips goes missing that are on the OEM wires, it'll go over there, right? So that's handy, having nice pictures from the OEM. Next one's the top repairs graph, right? So we can see number 1 repairs is to replace a spark plug at about 100,000 miles, where that most commonly fails. Next one's PID data. So this is the smart data, and it's going to come in. It's going to filter it down. Now it still looks like a lot, but it's all related to misfires, right? So coil control, ignition signal, don't see any doors or anything like that. You can also check and see which ones were used, by the way. If you go in the custom data list, it's going to show you the ones that are selected. So everything in black is selected, everything in white is not. So you can see it's a fair amount, but things like IAT sensor, mass airflow sensor, not necessarily needed based on the most common repairs for this. Right? And then you'll also see we have flags. So if it goes outside of spec for any, even a split second, it will flag that PID data. And we open the graph there. Yep. So there you see we have our red line there, and then on all the other PIDs, it's going to show a dotted red line, and it'll tell you where the problem might lie. And if it goes again, then you would see it again. You'd see another flag down here, and then it's going to bring you to that, and it's going to open the suspect PIDs for that. And it saves it automatically after that happens as well. So you can go back. Next one's functional tests and resets. Like I said, it filters them out, puts them on the top. Anything else I might need for a functional test or reset is going to be on the bottom. Then we have our guided component test, same thing. Any component tests related to it. All other component tests available on the bottom. And then we have our SureTrack information, right? So most common real fixes, additional real fixes, if any. And then our troubleshooter information. And then if you're on a Zeus, or Zeus or Zeus Plus. You also have a quick link to repair information, which will bring you into ShopKey or Mitchell. So if you have ShopKey or Mitchell, you put in your username and password, and then it'll bring you here, and then it will bring you right to ShopKey. Right, so use this vehicle, and then we want to do coil, and then you'll see there's my card experience, same as we had on the previous screen, right? Pull up your wiring diagrams if you want to see them. All from the seat of the car. And like I said, this is on the Zeus because that's the only one with a web browser. But you can go in, you can pull up the wiring diagrams, see what you need to see. You know, maybe I want to find that ground right there. I can do a component locator on that. And this is all from inside. You know, I haven't left the scan tool yet. It's all readily available in there. You know, there's my ground, back side of the cylinder head. And in this case, I never left the wiring diagram, which never left the scan tool, right? So it's like feature and function inception, which is interesting. But so that is intelligent diagnostics. Let's go to the next step. So on scope enabled tools, the next thing we have that is exclusive on this and gets updated all the time, it's going to be your guided component tests, right? So scanner is a directional tool. Guided component tests are a pinpoint tool, right? So the scanner is going to tell us where the problem might be, where we might need to look. But the component tests are going to pinpoint what the problem is. I can test the component directly. And we're up to over now 8 million guided component tests out there. And there's built-in classes on the tool as well. So that's pretty nice. The guided component tests are going to give you how to hook it up, where to hook it up, and what it should look like on the screen. So in this case, you know, it's going to tell us how it operates right there. And then it's going to give me the connector, and it's going to tell me the color of that connector, color of the wires, and how many pins are on that connector. You know, and then there's my known good pattern, and compare it with what I'm seeing out of the car, right? So that's a signature test for that example, right? So it's a crank sensor, and you can see I got the matching right down there. Compare it. Beautiful thing. So let's go live again. This one's a little different than a lot of the classes I do, right? So I'm just going to kind of go back and forth topic by topic. All right, next one I want to look at is a Telluride. And the guided component test. This is 2022 Telluride. Once you pull into a vehicle, it is going to ABS, body electrical, engine, transmission, all whatever systems we have information for, right? So in this case, I want to look at engine. And then you'll see we have a cam position sensor example. We on this one have a location image in there. So the engine compartment right there, and then a little bit closer up view as to where the actual sensor is. And if we go into signature tests, you can see there's the connector, and then there's what the connector does. So reference voltage, cam signal, and ground, and then it tells you what color the wire is. And we're looking at it from the harness side. People always ask me, well, what side am I looking at? The tool will tell you. So it's back probing on the harness, or front probing on the harness side. Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's normally back probing. And then there is the signature right there. I would hit view meter. I don't have my meter hooked up, unfortunately, but it automatically sets the voltage, automatically sets the time, and then I can see the known good waveform there and compare it to whatever I got coming off the vehicle there. So there are hundreds of thousands of known goods in here. 8 million tests available as well in the tool. So a lot of really good information. I actually saw a video. It was a few months old, but I saw a video by a well-known YouTuber that he said, well, go in here and then get the settings and then go to the scope and then apply the settings over there. And that's just taking a lot of extra steps, because if I go in here, if I go into this test, I hit view meter, that's my lab scope, right? I can go up to meter on the top of the screen. I can come down here to my settings, and I can still set everything up. I can turn channels on and off. I can change different probes. I can change my voltage settings. I can change my time base, right? Since my scope's not hooked up, I can't do that right now. But you know, you can change your voltage, change your time, change what your trigger is, all that good stuff. Same as you can do in a regular lab scope from here, but it already presets it for you. So it's actually less work to do it this way. So that is a common misconception, that it is what it is. The meter's there, and I can't change anything in there, and you can change everything the same as you could on the lab scope. It is going to pull up the appropriate meter, though. So if it's just a digital volt meter, it'll pull that up. If it's a graphing meter, it'll pull that up. If it's a scope, it pulls it up. If it's an ignition scope, it'll pull that up as well. So you can do anything you do in the scope, you can do here, but it's going to preset it for you automatically. So I think that is very helpful as well. All right, next is scan data functions. So there's a couple different things that we can do in here that are very helpful for managing data, right? So we did have on the intelligent diagnostics, we had where it automatically filtered it out. In this case, we can manually also filter out data as well. So if we're on a tool that doesn't have intelligent diagnostics, or we're not working on a code, or whatever it happens to be, we can go in there and we can create a custom data list. So we've been able to do that for a while. But over the last couple of years, we have the where we could do multiple lists across the module. So in this case, we have engine module, and we have maybe five, six different groups, data groups, right? So I can go in here and I can pick a few from each data group, and then I can make a custom list across the groups. The manufacturers that this works on is going to be the ones listed on the screen. So Acura, BMW, Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, Honda, Jeep, Lexus, Mazda, Mercedes, Nissan, Ram, Science, Subaru, and Toyota, all available for that. The other manufacturers that we have it, they just don't support it on their control module. Like GM doesn't support it for some reason, and Mazda doesn't either. Oh, actually, no, Mazda does. Some manufacturers just have one data set, right? They don't have different data lists. So in that case, that would be the, where are you going? And then the other thing that we can do is we can set up PID triggers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a maximum and a minimum value. If it ever goes outside of that maximum minimum value, whatever I set, well, it's going to flag for once. And then it is going to be a, if it goes outside of that value, it is going to flag it, and it's going to turn it red, and that's going to save it for you as well. So let's walk through how to do that now. So let's see, live walkthrough there, and this is the last thing I do anyway. So let me do the Triton first. Okay. So on the Triton, we'll load up our, we'll just load up the demonstration vehicle. It's easier. Chevy. Oh, wait, no, Chevy doesn't do that. Toyota does, though, right? Look back in my slide. Yeah, Toyota does. We'll go into the Camry. All right. Going to the Camry, going to Toyota, 2016 Camry. I think BMW does too. I could have picked the BMW too, but whatever. All right, so we'll go into engine module, and we'll go into data display, and notice how we have all of these different lists, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different lists. So I'll go into engine data 1 to start, and then there's my list of data. And then I will come up here to the check mark, and it will go through all the different data lists. And then we can see here, the caret opens up the lists. The checkbox on the data, you can see, and in this case, we have 100 actually as well. We can go down here, say we wanted to do this, this, and this. And then let's say on a different data, I wanted to do this and this. And then on this one, I wanted to do, say, like, I don't know, this and this, maybe this. Electronic throttle control, I can do that. All right, pitch for impression test. I can pick that one, I guess, doesn't really matter. All right, so now I have a customized list in here. Now what you need to do, instead of hitting back will bring you back to where you were. You want to hit the check mark there. And on the check mark, you can see now we have just our smaller lists available there. Now, what if I wanted to do a PID trigger on this? So first off, I want to put it in graph mode. So that's 88 over the squiggly line. And then go to, I want to do 4 graphs per screen in this case. Don't have to, but I want to do it that way. And then let's find, these are moving quite a bit, but we'll just do it anyway. Let me just see if there's one moving a little less. Sure, this one. All right, so I want to highlight the PID that I want to use. And then I'm going to go up here where it has the little squiggly with the line. Hit set trigger. And it's going to give you a visual. So you're going to use the arrows down here. And I want to bring my maximum to there, I guess. I'll hit continue on the right. And then I'll set my minimum outside of that range so it doesn't go off. I'll continue again. And then you'll see I have gray lines. Now I go back up here. This is going to trigger pretty quick, but if I go up here and I go arm triggers, they're going to turn pink for a second, and then it immediately triggered, right? So then I have a red line on that trigger, and then a green line on all the other triggers where it triggered. And then if I wait a little bit longer, a couple more ticks, it is going to go and save it. Takes a few seconds. But that way I can see what was going on in the data set before it triggered, when it triggered, and then a few seconds after it triggered, right? So that's important to help with that. All right. So that is on a Triton, Apollo, Solus, MT2600. All of those tools work the same way. On the Windows-based tools, it's a little bit different. So I'm just going to pull up the demo camera there. Okay, demo mode. And I'm going to engine, same information, right? So we're going to go data display, and we can see the different data sets. And if I go in here, we would go up to custom in this case. And you can see how it's all checked off in there. So same thing, carrots, pick the ones you want, close it, open a different carrot. So I want to do these. And that's enough, I guess. We'll go to the list. And now you see I have my much shorter list. Now, if I wanted to set a PID trigger on this tool, I don't have to open the graph, but in this case, I want to. Right? So minimum 12, max at 12.4. So I'm going to go into setup, and I'm going to turn my trigger on. Minimum of 0. Oh, wait, no. 11.8 goes down to 12. Max of 12.3. And then make sure that it is armed when you go back. So steady camera is armed, flashing camera is not armed. Hit save. And you can see I have flashy camera down there. So I'm going to wait a second, arm them. And then as soon as it goes up, it's going to hit a red line. All the other ones get a dotted red line, and you can see it saves it automatically for you. Now, if we go into properties, you can tell it how long after the trigger that you want it to record before it saves, right? So you can do that, show grid, show gradient, and also select the amount of sweep time you want as default, right? So you can see dash line, red line, and I can also go down into the tool, and there's my save demo data or my save data, and there it is in there. And I can look at it inside ShopStream Connect, inside the tool. So there's quite a few different features and functions on this tool. I think some of the nice high points that a lot of folks might not know that are in there, or may have forgotten that are in there. That happens a lot too. Like I said, with so many features. So that is get the most out of your tool. If you have any specific questions, I'll have a few minutes after if you want to stick around. If you do have any specific questions as to some specific things, you can always ask them in the Q&A of the chat, and I will get to those. I just have a couple of quick little commercial. First, next week is OEM-specific ADAS training Subaru. So we are going back to our ADAS training that we did last year on Subarus, and the uniqueness of the Subaru is very unique. And actually, this class is a little unique the way I ran it too. So if you want to watch it again, 6 and 9 Eastern. If you want to watch it live, go to snapon.com/OT to watch it on Zoom. Otherwise, you can scan that QR code and you can watch it on the YouTube channel is at 6 p.m. and our Facebook page is at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So scan that QR code. It'll bring you over to the YouTube page. Please make sure you like and subscribe. About half the people who watch our videos are subscribed, about half aren't. So we'd like to bring that ratio up a little bit. So if you could, that'd be great. Also, if you want to see any of the other topics in this series, we go anywhere from intro to ADAS down to our ADAS specific training and everywhere in between. Definitely check it out. They're all about half hour, 40 minutes long, kind of depends on the topic at hand and how many questions we get and all that. But it is all free and it's all readily available on the YouTube channel. Also, do we have your email address? If we do not have your email address, we would be you would be missing out on some good information such as tech focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, new product releases, customer email sign up. So if you want to sign up for that, scan that QR code and that will bring you to a form that you can fill out and you can start receiving those wonderful emails. There's an example of a tech focus article on diagnosing a timing chain, and also we send out periodically, SureTrack blogs, complaint cause correction. Here's what they did. Kind of like those articles I showed a little earlier, the tips. All right, let's get to questions. So if you do have a question and you're on the Zoom, just find that Q&A button and ask a question there. If you're on YouTube, feel free to use the live chat function. So we got questions and answers. The Bosch. Okay, that's cool. So Matt says Mitsubishi factory scan tool is a Bosch scan tool, so Bosch makes it for them, right? Dealership tech told me the Zeus can do more tests and resets than the Bosch could. That's nice. The factory tech told me they were able to look at the two scan tools side by side, and I could get more data and see if my car on my car than on the Bosch. So that's a pretty cool little tidbit. We'll have to try that one day because I do the competitive comparisons from time to time, right? All right, so that's good information though. Let's see. Jay says, thanks for the class. Learn something every week playing with my Zeus. So yeah, definitely. There's so many features and functions in these tools that you could spend weeks going through all the information, just kind of learn how it is. All right, over to YouTube. Kiki says, what's up? I said, welcome. Money Mark says, I hope they jump into key programming for immobilizers and Subaru keyless. I'm going to say, sorry to disappoint you, sir, but we don't do any keys on any Subarus. So it's just not a function in the software just because there's so much other stuff involved, like NASTIF and Loxis license and all the other stuff that I don't really have time to go into here, but there is an awful lot of legality behind that. So we just don't offer it at all. Let the locksmiths do it, right? ERC, that's a lot of letters, but he says hi. Nick says hi from the UK. It is very late and it's very rainy, apparently. Well, go figure for England, right? So good to see you. And says welcome, thank you. The gentleman up above that had a lot of letters in his name, and I can't really suss it out, but it's from Turkey. So welcome. Thank you for watching from Turkey. It's probably even later in Turkey than it is in the UK. So thanks for watching. Let's see. Hi-Fi Insider says, just got the Solus Plus, and I'm learning all of its features. Wonderful. It is a wonderful tool, and it should serve you well for many, many years. Said make sure it's up, make sure it stays up to date. Jaylee Lobo says hello. Can't wait for next week's training, Nick says. Phil says he thinks this guy's drunk during these live streams, trails off when I'm talking. That's just how I present, man. It's all off the top of my head. Believe me, if I was drunk, you would not be able to understand me at all, and I probably wouldn't be talking this fast either. So yeah, that's for later tonight, right? After I'm all done working. Let's see. Alex says, Shopkey, what's the monthly payment? So I think, if I'm not mistaken, list price is around the 185 range now. But you can definitely talk to your Snap-on rep to see, because there's always deals going on. And, depending on your affiliation, you can get discounts too. So it's best to talk to your franchisee on that one. And Alex says, for Mercedes users, an auto-auth must have a paid annually payment and become an authorized tech. Yes. So there is that other extra step. I actually just got an email the other day, says I need to renew mine for the tech part of things. But yes, it's $5.99 per tech per year. And it's just like a scan the license, scan your face, do a selfie, just to verify that you are who you say you are. It's not really like a background check or anything, but yes, you do have to pay for the Mercedes access, which is an additional $60 through AutoAuth, and then that $5.99 per tech per year. And then you have to have this tech tied to the shop's account as well. So it's just a couple of things you have to do in the background. But that was a demand by the Mercedes, and that is North America. No, sorry, that is not North America only. That is U.S. only. In Canada, it's different procedure as well. Canada, they don't use AutoAuth. We actually manage it up in Canada as well. We may be looking at bringing that down to the States, but we got to talk to Mercedes about it, contracts and stuff. Let's see. Jaylee Lobo says, lots of good info tonight. Thank you, Jason, for all the info you share with us and for the time you invest in teaching us. Well, you're very welcome. It does take a lot of time for sure. And I appreciate that you guys watch my videos and ask good questions. Yes. So Brenton says was looking at upgrading from a D8 to a D10. It doesn't have the connector for cable to connect older vehicles or bikes without the OBD connector. Is there an adapter? Yes. So I'm going to tell you, if you have the adapters already, they will work with the D10. They'll actually work with the new 3rd gen Triton as well. Same thing with motorcycle adapters. So they are readily available on our website or just through your dealer. You can just ask them, I need OBD2 adapters. There's a whole kit you can buy, or just the one you need. Because if you say you work on a lot of GMs or something, you just need the GM one, and you can just buy the GM one and save the money on the whole kit that you're never going to use, right? So yeah, talk to your dealer. Let's see. Michael says, will the Vantage platform be updated? So the latest hardware Vantage, or the latest Vantage hardware, it would be Vantage Legend. And that keeps getting software updates. The hardware is not really getting updated at this time. I have been asking for that for a while. Let's get it on like a V10 or something like that, right? But not sure if we'll be seeing a new one. Hopefully we get to see a new one. Because it's a wonderful tool, right? It's the guided component test that we just talked about a little bit earlier. So as of right now, I don't know of anything, but I have heard discussions in the background that maybe we might see one in the future. I don't know for sure. So and that's the best I can tell you, because that's as much as I know. That's as much as they tell me. So all right, very well. Looks like we got everybody covered. So a lot of good questions tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the material. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch me yap here for 45 minutes. Hopefully you learned a few things about your tool. Hopefully you'll watch the Subaru one next week. With that, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a nice night and take care.